Hi all. I hope all of you are doing good, and as per my promise in my previous video lecture, here I am back again with another economics lecture of mine for my dear students. In today's class, we are we are going to talk about the scope of microeconomics. But before we do that, just a quick recap of what we had done in our previous video lecture. For those who have not seen my previous video lecture as of now, you can go to Maharashtra College YouTube channel and you will find it there. In our previous class, we had studied what is economics, the meaning of the word economics, and the two main branches of economics, namely microeconomics and macroeconomics. Now, I hope you remember the meanings of these two words. Quickly, microeconomics derived from Greek word mikros, which means small. Macroeconomics derived again from a Greek word makros, which means large. When I use these two words, small and large, you should be able to understand the scope of these two words. When I use the word small, I mean to say that microeconomics is that branch of economics which is studying the economy into bits and pieces. It is going to divide the economy into small units and study those units in detail, one by one, in particular. So here, when I'm using the word small, I mean to say that because it is the study of small units, its scope is limited. But on the other hand, macroeconomics is studying the entire economy as a whole. It is studying the big variables of the economy, and that is why the scope of macroeconomics is large, it is wide. So when you compare the two, the scope of microeconomics is very limited and the scope of macroeconomics is large. If you have seen your textbooks, you have one such question in your agree disagree section. They're asking you a question, state with reasons whether you agree or disagree with the following statements. So they might give you a statement like this: the scope of microeconomics is limited. So you will write there, yes, I agree with the above statement. And after that, you will have to write certain reasons, which of course we'll discuss in this particular lecture itself. Another question that they might ask you is, the scope of macroeconomics is wide. So again, you will write, yes, I agree with the above statement. And of course, the reasons we are going to study when we study the scope of macroeconomics. All right. So before we start with the scope of microeconomics, just understand the meaning of the word scope. Scope means the extent to which microeconomics studies something, or rather you can say the subject matter of microeconomics, all that is included in microeconomics or all that is studied in microeconomics is the scope of microeconomics. All right. So under scope, there are three theories that you are going to study, very simple theories. Theory of product pricing, theory of factor pricing, and theory of economic welfare. Very simple. Before starting with these three theories, I would like to share with you certain basic concepts of economics that you have to keep in mind. And if that is in your mind, it will be easier for you to grasp these theories. I've written certain words here like product, factor. What is product? What is factor? Now in economics, you have two types of markets. One is the product market and one is the factor market. What is a product market? Simple. Product market is that market where you get all your finished goods or all your consumer goods. For example, your pens, your books, your bags, your clothes, your shoes, your mobile phones, your cars, your watch, everything that is already been produced and it is just ready to use and that market is the product market. On the other hand, you have the factor market. What is a factor market? Now, in order to produce these goods, in order to produce my clothes, in order to produce my mobile phone, you require certain factors of production. These factors of production are the ones without whom the process of production is incomplete or it won't happen. Now, what are these 4 factors of production? I hope this rings the bell again. You have already studied it in your 11th standard, chapter number 1. The 4 factors of production are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Alright, these are the 4 factors of production. Whether you want to start a factory, you want to start a new business, these 4 factors of production are compulsory, are required, and without that no production process can happen, no business can start. So the market where you get these factors of production is the factor market. So I hope you're understanding these 2 words. Products are those things which are easily available, the consumer goods that are available, and factors are those factors of production which help in the production of the final goods. Now, the demand for the consumer goods, the demand for the products is a direct demand. Okay, the demand for the products is a direct demand, but the demand for the factors of production is an indirect demand. Indirect or derived. Now, what do you mean by direct, indirect, or derived? Very simple. I would like to explain it to you with the help of an example. Like for example, take food crops. All of us eat food, so the demand for food is a direct demand. Why? Because food is the consumer good. Your rice, wheat, whatever is available in the market, the food that you eat is your direct demand, because that is the thing which you are going to consume directly. It is ready to use. But on the other hand, the demand for the farmer who is growing the food crops is an indirect demand. Here in this example, I do not demand the farmer. Instead, I demand the food crop that he is growing. So the demand for the farmer is an indirect, is a derived demand, and on the other hand, the demand for the food is the direct demand. You can list n number of examples wherein you can say that the factors of production, the people who are making the final goods, are demanded indirectly, but the goods that they are making, the demand for those goods is direct. So this is the simple, just the basic of economics, wherein your the consumer products have direct demand and the factors of production have indirect demand. Now, these 2 words, coming to the theory of product pricing. All of us know that the prices of all the consumer goods, all the finished goods are fixed on the basis of 2 important market forces. What are these market forces? Demand and supply. Demand and supply are the 2 important market forces. On the basis of these forces, the prices are determined. You will be studying in your chapter number 3A and B and chapter number 4 how price of a commodity influences the demand and supply of the commodities. So microeconomics is going to study how the prices of all the consumer goods and services are determined. That is why this particular theory of product pricing comes under the scope of microeconomics. Very simple. Microeconomics has product pricing as a scope of it, because it is studying how the prices of different goods and services are determined. Coming to theory of factor pricing. Now here, before we start, quickly, land, labor, capital and entrepreneur, the four factors of production. They do some work, they help in the production process, and that is why in return they get reward. What rewards do they get? Land in return gets rent. Labor, the laborer, the workers, in return they get salary or wages. Capital, the money, this particular factor of production gets interest in return. An entrepreneur, the businessman, the organizer, the leader of the business gets profit in return. So these rent, wages, interest and profit are the rewards of factors of production. They are producing something, they are helping in the process of production, and that is why they get something as a reward. And these factor pricing, how much rent should the land get, how much wages should the laborer get, how much capital, how much interest the capital should be getting, and how much profit is the entrepreneur or the businessman going to earn. All that comes under the theory of factor pricing. Microeconomics studies the rent, the wages, the interest and the profits of every particular businessman, every worker, every piece of land, and that is why it comes under the scope of microeconomics. So I hope these two theories are clear to you. Here you are going to study how the prices of products are determined, that is why it is product pricing. And here you are going to study how the prices of factors of production are determined, and that is why it is factor pricing. Lastly, coming to the theory of welfare. Now, economic welfare. Now this is another important field in microeconomics. The two persons who are really very famous in economic welfare theory are Professor A.C. Pigou, and the other name that is really very famous is Professor Wilfred Pareto. Now these two people have done a lot in the field of theory, economic welfare. Economic welfare, the two words are very simple to understand: the benefit of the entire economy. This is the meaning of the word economic welfare. Now we are staying in an economy where there are many people, rich and poor, the influential and the non-influential, the big businessmen and the small laborers. So our economy is such where you have the most richest and you have the most poorest. Now in such an economy, the allocation of resources is very important. If the resources are not allocated properly, the rich will become richer and the poor will become poorer. Keeping in mind this particular aspect, and keeping in mind the welfare of the poor people and the welfare of the whole economy, the satisfaction of the whole economy, the economists have come up with this particular theory of economic welfare. Now there are three things under this theory: efficiency in production, efficiency in consumption, and overall economic efficiency. What are these three words? First one, efficiency in production. All of us know that every country, every economy is blessed with certain natural resources, certain resources that it uses for the process of production. So according to economists, whatever resources you have, you should fully utilize it in the production process. You should not be wasting any resource. The more you use it optimally, the more you use it fully, the more and more goods and services you will be able to produce. So here efficiency in production means you should produce in such a way that you are wasting very little resource, or rather you're not wasting any resource, and the whole of resource is just put in the production process. The more the natural resources, the more the production process, and the more goods and services will be available to you. Next one, efficiency in consumption. Now, after the production of these goods and services, these goods and services have to be allocated to different sections of people. That is known as efficiency in consumption. To allocate the resources, to allocate the finished goods and services to the people for consumption is known as efficiency in consumption. I hope all of you are aware of PDS system, the public distribution system. This public distribution system is one wherein the people who are earning, the low income groups, they get their daily ration, the food items, at a very subsidized rates. So this is one of the strategies of economic welfare, wherein the rich can buy, they have money. But what about the poor? What about those who do not have proper income, those who are just living hand to mouth? Even these people need to have food, need to survive. So for them, this is the PDS, public distribution system, that has been taken up by the government to ensure that these articles that are produced are reaching the consumers. Lastly, you have overall economic efficiency. This means that whatever items, whatever goods and services which are required in the economy, only those have to be produced. Because if you go on producing those goods which are not needed, which are not demanded in our economy, you will end up wasting the resources. So it is better you produce only those goods and services which are high in demand and actually needed by the people in the economy. So I hope these three things are clear to you: efficiency in production, consumption, and the entire economic efficiency, the overall economic efficiency. So this is the scope of microeconomics. Very limited scope, because it is studying the in economy not entirely but in bits and pieces. Now, as I told you that you have a question in your textbook, agree or disagree with reasons. They might ask you a question like, the scope of microeconomics is wide. Now here what you're going to write: I disagree with the above statement, because the scope of microeconomics is limited. And then you will write these points, these theories, in point wise. At least 3 points are expected. This type of a question comes usually for 4 marks, wherein 1 mark you get for your agree and disagree, and remaining 3 marks you get for the reasons that you give. So in this particular answer, you can write your statement. If they're asking you the scope of microeconomics is limited, you will write yes, I agree, and explain these 3 points. And if they're asking the scope of microeconomics is wide, you will write no, I do not agree, or I disagree, and you will again elaborate these 3 points. So 1 mark for your direct answer, agree, disagree, and 3 marks for the explanation of these 3 points. So I hope you are clear with this. In my previous video, a little task that I had given to you, I hope you remember. I asked you to think about microeconomics and tell me how it has affected the consumers, the COVID situation, how the COVID has affected the consumers and the producers. I hope all of you have thought about it and jotted down a few points. I would just like to share with you certain outlines that might help you to frame the answer. One important thing that has happened in this COVID situation is the lockdown, which was a must, which was very needed. Now, because of the lockdown, or the Janta curfew as we call it, because of the lockdown, all the shops are closed, all the malls are closed, all the places of recreation, the cinemas, the gyms, and the restaurants, everything is closed. So because of that, these industries are badly hit. The producers are not supplying their articles, and that is why their business is on a standstill. Now, coming to consumers, we consumers have changed certain habits. Our purchasing habits have changed. There is a slight change in the consumer behavior. When I say that, I mean to say that we people are demanding more of important and essential articles, and we are keeping aside our luxuries. In the beginning of the lockdown, there was panic buying that was happening. People in panic were buying more and more stuffs, and they were hoarding food articles in their houses. They were hoarding sanitizers at home. They were hoarding hand washes at home. So this change had happened. This change in the behavior of consumers happened, and that's what I wanted you to include in your answer. So I hope this will help you a bit, and that's all for the day. We'll get back again with another video, and till then, do take care, and please subscribe to Maharashtra College channel. Thank you.